I need to ask you something before you continue watching. Stop for a moment and take a deep breath, because what you are about to hear might be exactly the answer you have been asking the Almighty for in silence, alone, in the dead of night, when no one sees you cry. You are tired. I know. Tired of doing the math at the end of the month and seeing that the money ran out before the week did. Tired of opening your banking app and feeling that tightness in your chest. Tired of seeing people who you know don't have half your character prospering, while you, who work honestly, who believe in the Almighty, who do everything the right way, keep spinning your wheels, keep almost getting there, but never really arriving. Tired of praying and feeling like heaven is closed. Tired of tithing with faith and seeing your account in the red all the same. Tired of hearing promises, reading verses, listening to preaching, and feeling that plenty is always for someone else, never for you. I need to tell you something while looking right into your eyes now. You are not alone. And more important than that, you are not outside the plan of the Almighty. On the contrary, today, the Almighty is speaking a direct word to you, one that can change the rest of your life, and I will be merely the instrument. The message is this: the famine cycle that follows your life is ending. It is ending now, and what comes next is plenty. In the next few minutes, I will give you three things. First, the three spiritual signs that confirm this cycle is truly breaking, and there is a great chance you are already feeling at least one of them and haven't understood it yet. Second, the real, deep, hidden cause of the scarcity that has haunted your family for generations, even when everyone worked hard. And third, the exact path, practical and spiritual, that the Almighty is revealing for the chosen ones to cross this passage and enter the flow of plenty that was set aside for them even before the foundation of the world. If you have made it this far, it was no accident. You were led. And by the end of this video, you will understand why this message found you precisely today, at a moment when you might have been about to give up on everything. Before continuing, leave an amen in the comments if you believe the Almighty is speaking to you now. And subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, because what is coming in the next videos is only for those who have ears to hear. And this is where I need to pause with you for a moment. Because this sensation you are having right now, this subtle shiver running down your spine, this tear that may have already fallen without you realizing it, is not fleeting emotion. It is spiritual confirmation. Confirmation that you are being set apart for something much greater than money in the bank. Because when the Almighty begins to break a famine cycle in someone's life, He is not just delivering provision. He is marking, He is preparing, He is revealing a purpose that had been dormant for years. The end times are approaching, and no one receives plenty without responsibility. That is why I prepared a powerful digital book for you. It is called How to Know If You Are Saved for the Judgment Day, and inside it are the exact biblical deep signs that reveal if you are among those who will pass through the narrow gate when the time is fulfilled. Thousands of brothers who read this book sent me messages saying they cried, that they understood their entire lives all at once, and many began to see provision coming in right after this reading, because plenty flows where there is spiritual alignment. The link is pinned in the description of this video and also at the top of the comments. But I need to warn you with all sincerity, this content may be taken down at any moment, so don't leave it for later. If the Almighty brought you here today, it is because the time of your life is already counted in heaven. Comment the word chosen now to seal this word over you. Now let me show you the first sign that the cycle is truly ending. And pay close attention, because this is the sign that most people confuse with a problem, with failure, with punishment, when in fact it is exactly the opposite. It is the proof that the breaking of the cycle has already begun in the spiritual backstage. The first sign is the restlessness you have been feeling. That strange sensation that something is about to change, but you can't explain what it is. It can be an internal agitation that appears for no reason in the middle of the day. It can be difficulty sleeping even when you are exhausted from work. It can be vivid and repetitive dreams about running water, ripe harvests, a new house, your father, your mother, or people who have already passed on. It can be a sudden urge to organize your life, throw away old things, change the way you dress, speak, eat, and even the way you have been relating to the people around you. This is not in your head. This is your spirit recognizing what your mind hasn't understood yet, When the Almighty is preparing a new season, He first brings restlessness, because no one leaves a place where they are comfortable, even if that place is bad. Scarcity becomes a comfort zone. A person gets used to living with little, gets used to saying it's not possible, gets used to settling, and there they make their bed. And to pull you out of there, the Almighty must first disturb your false peace, that peace which is actually just anesthesia. And look at this intriguing thing. This restlessness you feel appears precisely now, precisely at this moment in your life, precisely while you watch this video. It is not a coincidence. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, How to Know If You Are Saved for the Judgment Day. Because this restlessness you feel is not just about money. It is your soul asking for answers that only the Word reveals. The link is in the description and pinned at the top of the comments. Don't delay, do it now, because the time for the decision is always today, never tomorrow. The second sign is the loss of things that seemed important. And here I know I will touch on a recent pain, perhaps quite fresh in your life. Perhaps you lost a job that seemed stable. Perhaps a relationship just ended in an unexpected and painful way. Perhaps that business you invested time, money, and dreams into simply went bust. Perhaps old friends, people you trusted, have drifted away without even giving an explanation. And you find yourself asking in the silence of your room, why is everything ending at the same time? Why did the Almighty allow this to happen to me? Did I do something wrong and am I being punished? I need to tell you a truth that few preachers have the courage to say from the pulpit. The Almighty is not punishing you. He is pruning you. What you lost did not have the structure for the next level. That job had a ceiling too low for your calling. That relationship drained your anointing, even if you still liked the person. That friendship no longer fit the purpose that is coming. When a tree is going to bear more fruit, the farmer prunes it first. He cuts what looks beautiful, but only consumes energy without producing. You are being prepared to carry a greater harvest, and a greater harvest requires deeper roots and stronger branches. I know it hurts. It hurts to lose. It hurts to look at the empty space of what is no longer there. But if you can see with spiritual eyes, you will understand that every recent loss was a precise surgery by the Almighty, removing from your life what would have broken you further down the road. When plenty arrives, it will arrive heavy. And if you were still surrounded by the wrong people, the wrong structures, the wrong mindset, this plenty would destroy you, just as it destroys so many people who win the lottery and lose everything in 2 years. Serious financial behavior research shows this in America as well. Whoever receives much without being ready loses everything. The Almighty is sparing you from this trap. The third sign is perhaps the most subtle, and at the same time the most powerful. It is the appearance of people, opportunities, or ideas you never expected. It could be a job offer coming from someone you barely knew. It could be a business idea that came out of nowhere, in the middle of a shower in Monday morning traffic during a quick prayer. It could be a person who reached out to you unexpectedly to present something new. It could be a book that fell into your hands in a strange way. A video that appeared to you, precisely this video you are watching now. These are the messengers of the new time. Angels of provision begin to move in the spiritual sphere before the plenty manifests in the physical world. And when you start seeing too many events aligning at once, the right people appearing, doors opening where you didn't even knock, ideas appearing out of nowhere, it is because heaven has already decreed it. The order has been given. The release has already begun. But pay attention, because now I need to show you the root cause behind this scarcity, and this part will bother you. It will stir up things you may have never wanted to look at head on. Because if you don't understand what held your family in this cycle for so many years, you run the risk of receiving plenty and losing it all over again, just as you lost before. And this is much more common than most imagine. And that is exactly why this book reached you today. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, How to Know If You Are Saved for the Judgment Day. Because receiving plenty without spiritual alignment is like receiving a fortune in a bottomless safe. Everything leaks out. Everything evaporates, everything is lost. The link is pinned in the description and at the top of the comments, waiting for you. The reports from those who read it are impressive. People who saw prosperity enter through the front door after sealing this covenant with the reading. Don't leave for tomorrow what the Almighty is offering you today now, at this very instant. Let's go to the root cause. Scarcity is not born in the bank account. Scarcity is born much earlier in three places that almost no one shows. The first root of scarcity is generational, and here there is no way to soften the truth. There are entire families that carry a pattern of poverty, of tightness, of debt, of always being $10 short at the end of the month that comes from long before you were born. Have you stopped to think how many people in your lineage died without ever having financially achieved what they dreamed of? Think about your grandfather, your grandmother, your great-grandparents. How many of them had to give up dreams because of money? How many worked their whole lives and died without leaving an inheritance? How many made wrong decisions out of financial desperation, married early, accepted a bad job, sold land cheap, signed papers without reading? These patterns don't disappear on their own. They repeat. The Bible speaks about curses that pass from generation to generation, about iniquity that accumulates, and many good people, people who love the Almighty, hard-working people, are paying a spiritual bill that they did not create. It is as if you were born owing a bill that someone else took out in your name, and you lived your whole life trying to pay off a debt that isn't even yours. And the worst part is that these invisible inheritances come along with beliefs that seem natural. You grew up hearing things like money is hard, honest people don't get rich, we were born poor, we will die poor, this isn't for us, this is our place. And your subconscious, after so many years of hearing this, was formatted to repel plenty, sabotage opportunities, lose what you conquer. You don't realize it, but your mind is programmed for lack, even if your mouth declares prosperity at the Sunday service. The second root of scarcity is a false spiritual humility. This is more delicate to touch, but it must be touched. Many people were taught with good intention, but with twisted theology, that poverty is a virtue and wealth is a sin, that having little is holier, that if you want money, then you are being worldly, materialistic, far from the Almighty. Then what happens? The person is ashamed to prosper, subconsciously sabotages their own chances, asks little of the Almighty because they think asking for much is arrogance, settles for crumbs and calls it faith. But look at what Psalm 35:27 says, "Let the Lord be magnified who has pleasure in the prosperity of his servant. The Almighty rejoices when you prosper." And in 3 John 1:2 it is written, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." The Almighty wants you to do well in all things, in all, including finances, including your career, including the name of the street, the car in the garage, the house where your family sleeps in peace. Poverty does not bring you closer to the Almighty. Covenant with the Almighty brings you closer to Him. There are rich people far from the Almighty, and there are rich people close to the Almighty, just as there are poor people on both sides of the border. Wealth is not the problem, idolizing money is the problem. And not having money can also become an idolatry, when it consumes your thoughts all day long. When you wake up thinking about debt, go to sleep thinking about overdue bills, and can't even hear the voice of the Almighty anymore because of the noise of worry. The third root of scarcity is the breaking of covenant. And this is the deepest of all. Whenever a person, out of pain, out of resentment, out of carelessness, breaks the spiritual covenant they had with the Almighty, they lose access to a channel of supernatural provision. Perhaps you have drifted away from prayer. Perhaps you stopped going to church after a disappointment with people in the church, and this is more common than one admits. Perhaps you entered into wrong pacts without realizing it, in practices, places, relationships, addictions, that cut your connection with heaven without you even noticing. And then life seems to have lost its flavor. Work yields less, money leaks away, plans don't get off the ground, everything takes longer, everything costs more. And you can't understand why, if you are the same person, doing the same things, you are reaping less and less. The good news is this: what was broken can be restored. What was ruptured can be remade. And that is exactly what the time that is coming is about. The Almighty is restoring covenants. He is opening doors that were closed by mistakes of the past. He is rewriting family histories that seemed doomed. And He is doing this first with those who are willing to look inward with humility and say, "Lord, show me what needs to change in me." Now comes the part that will change everything. I will give you the exact path. There are 5 spiritual steps that together open the portal of plenty in your life. Write them down if you can, or come back to this video later, but engrave each one of them in your heart. The first step is the conscious breaking of the cycle. And breaking a cycle starts with a word, declaration. You will open your mouth and declare, with faith, out loud, every day for the next 21 days in a row. In the name of Jesus, I break now every pattern of scarcity that came from my lineage. I do not accept poverty as an inheritance. I am the seed of Arthur, and the blessing of Arthur reaches me. I am the first in my family to enter this new season of full plenty. It may seem simple, but the spoken word has power. In Proverbs 18:21 it is written, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." You spend your whole life repeating in your subconscious that money is hard, that you can't do it, that your family was always like that. And then you are surprised when your reality confirms exactly what your mouth decreed. Reverse the decree. Start now. The second step is the examination of the heart. And here you will need courage. Take a notebook, set aside 15 minutes of silence, no cell phone, no television, and answer in writing. Against whom do you still hold a grudge? Whom do you need to forgive? Where is there resentment in your heart against the Almighty, against life, against the past, against someone who hurt you? What wrong pacts have you already made, even without realizing it, in moments of desperation or ignorance? Forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about you. Every person you haven't forgiven is holding a piece of your blessing. Every grudge held is a clogged pipe in your spiritual house. And as long as these pipes are clogged, even if the Almighty pours rivers upon you, little will flow. You need to clean the plumbing. And this is done with a decision. Not waiting to feel like it. Deciding. In the name of Jesus, I forgive you, even without feeling it. And that's it. The feeling comes later. The third step is the covenant of generosity. And here many people get stuck. Look, I am not talking here about tithing out of obligation, forced offerings, emotional pressure. I am talking about an internal posture, the posture of the generous. People who are about to enter into great plenty are people who, even in the little, let go. They let go of a smile. They let go of help. They let go of time. They let go of money, even if it is little. Because what you let go of with your heart taught to let go returns multiplied. There is an ancient spiritual law older than any finance book. Whoever sows reaps. Whoever holds back loses. And whoever loses is afraid to let go again, creating a cycle of tightness that deepens. Break this cycle. Do one thing today, now, after this video. Find someone who is in a worse situation than you and bless this person in some way. It can be money. It can be a meal. It can be a phone call. It can be intense prayer. Don't tell anyone. Do it in secret and observe what will happen in your life in the coming days. The fourth step is the renewal of the environment. Here is where the practical part meets the spiritual part. Look around. Your house, your room, your desk, your cell phone, your car. What do you see? Things sitting there that you haven't used in years. Old clothes, accumulated papers, bills hanging on the fridge, that corner that no one has tidied up in months, apps on your phone that suck your attention without giving you anything in return, people on your WhatsApp who pull you down every time you open a conversation with them. All of this is a channel. All of this communicates something with the spiritual sphere. An environment cluttered with old things pushes the new away. Do a cleanup. It doesn't have to be all at once, but start today. Get rid of what no longer serves. Donate, throw away, sell. And mainly, organize your finances. Write down what comes in and what goes out. Face to face with the truth of the numbers. The Almighty does not release plenty into disorganized hands because He loves you too much to give you more than you can manage. And the fifth step, the step that seals everything, is the daily covenant with the Almighty. Daily covenant, not a Sunday covenant. A covenant that is renewed when you wake up, when you have coffee, when you leave for work, when you return tired, when you sleep. 20 minutes a day of honest prayer, reading the Word, silence before the Lord. 20 minutes. It is little. But most people who complain about scarcity cannot give even 5 minutes to the Almighty, and yet expect plenty coming from heaven. That doesn't work, doesn't. You sow time, you reap presence. You sow presence, you reap direction. You sow direction, you reap correct decision. And correct decision, under the direction of the Almighty, generates sustainable plenty, the kind that doesn't evaporate, the kind that builds wealth, the kind that blesses children and grandchildren and undoes the generational cycle once and for all, forever. If you take these 5 steps with faith, I guarantee you, in the next 90 days your life will begin to be unrecognizable. I am not talking about magic. I am talking about alignment. When your life enters into alignment with the Almighty, the things that were stuck begin to move. Doors open, the right people appear, the right ideas arrive, and money, which has always been a consequence, begins to flow like a river toward the sea. But there is one thing I need to tell you before we finish, and this is the most important part of all. Because you can take all these 5 steps: decree, forgive, be generous, organize, pray every day, and still not enter into full plenty. And then you will ask yourself, why? What is missing? Trust is missing. It is missing believing for real in the most hidden place of your chest. It is missing stopping being hesitant before the promises. There are many people who do everything right, but deep down, there in the hidden corner of the heart, still doubt that the Almighty wants that for her specifically. Others, yes. Other people, yes. But me? Is it for me? Do I deserve it? Does the Almighty remember my name? I will tell you something that perhaps no one has ever told you this way. The Almighty has not forgotten you. In not 1 minute of these 40, 50, 60, 70 years that you may have of life has He forgotten you. In every night that you cried alone, He was there by your side. In every bill that you couldn't pay, He was noting it, preparing the right time. In every time you felt invisible to people, He saw you with more clarity than anyone on earth has seen you. Scarcity was not a punishment. It was a sieve. The Almighty used a sieve to see who would continue believing even when it seemed like He had drifted away. And you continued. Perhaps not with the faith you would like, perhaps stumbling, perhaps complaining, perhaps crying, but you continued. You didn't give up on life. You didn't curse your God. You didn't sell your soul for easy money. And this persistence, even if tired, is now becoming your credential to receive what is coming. Remember Job. He lost everything. Children, property, health, reputation, position. His wife told him to curse the Almighty and die. His friends came to say that he had hidden sin. But at the end of the book, it is written that the Almighty restored the fortunes of Job and gave him double what he had before. Double, not the same. Double. And the final years of Job were more blessed than all the previous years combined. This is your time. I am not promising you easy money. I am giving you a direction. I am not selling you an illusion. I am waking you up to a truth that was buried under so many disappointments that you even forgot it was true. The Almighty is calling you to enter. The door is open, but you need to walk. No one will carry you in their arms. Comment down here now after watching. Tell me what touched you the most in this video. Tell me which of the signs you are already feeling in your skin. Tell me which of the 5 steps you will start today. Tell me so I can pray for you, because I read them. And when you comment, you seal it. When you share this video with someone in your family, you multiply it. When you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, you position yourself to receive the next words that will come, because the Almighty will not stop speaking now that you have started to listen. And look, perhaps you have never thought about this, but there is a deep reason for you to be exactly at this point in your life, hearing this message, at this moment. You are not just a person wanting to improve your life. You are someone who carries a spiritual responsibility on your shoulders. Your family, your children, your grandchildren depend on your spiritual choices in the coming months. The inheritance you will leave is not just financial, it is spiritual. It is the cycle that you will break or that you will pass on without realizing it to those who come after you. And this decision is yours. Today. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you. How to Know If You Are Saved for the Judgment Day is not just a book, it is a mirror. It is a map. It is a confirmation. When you read it, you will understand why so many things happened the way they happened in your life, and mainly you will understand what the Almighty is building from here on out. Whoever makes it to the end of this video is because they were guided here, and that doesn't happen to just anyone. The link is pinned in the description, and at the top of the comments waiting for your click of faith. The content may be taken down at any moment, so don't leave it for later. Don't rely on tomorrow, because tomorrow belongs to no one. Get this book today, read it with an open heart, and come back here later to tell me what changed in your life. Comment now the word "I receive" to seal this word over you and your house. And remember, the cycle is ending. Plenty is coming, but only those who decide to walk cross over. May the Almighty bless you, prosper you, and find you exactly where you need to be found. Until the next video.